All right, how's everybody? Everybody have a wonderful, tremendous Independence Day? I know everybody was off, knowing what I know about the business and the industry. I suspect that every last one of us had the day off here yesterday, right? No, that's not the case? No? Glenn, I know you had off with all the seniority. Well, we appreciate it. We appreciate the turnout. It looks like a pretty good turnout this morning. We're here this morning to actually have Major Smith, a lot of you know Gerald Smith, in the department. He's going to speak about 4th of July, what some of our observations were there, talk about the operation that we employed and how successful that operation went, due in large part, I guess, to a lot of strategy planning and some help from our partners. When he's through, we'll go ahead and open it up to questions for Gerald, for Major Smith, and I'll be around to answer any other questions for things that are looming. So without further delay, Major Gerald Smith.
Thank you, Rod. I assume everybody's rolling. You spell my first name Gerald. I am the major over the Southwest service area, which includes the Uptown area. I was also the incident commander for the 4th of July celebration in Uptown Charlotte. But if I could just take one moment to recognize two visitors that we have in the room that you don't normally see their faces. It's going to be Carter and Matthew. Sorry to put you guys on the spot, but there are two of our high school interns who are joining us today and joining us with the department this weekend, this summer. And you're from South Mech and West Mech, respectively, correct? Welcome, guys, and don't feel shy. If you have questions at the end, feel free to ask as well, okay? Last night's celebration was a success. Our planning, our mitigation strategies, our partners with the fire department, emergency management, the sheriff's department, and many, many other, our federal partners were all effective. We had a great celebration. Everybody cooperated except for the rain, which caused about an hour delay with the game and pushed the schedule back a little bit. But the crowd was not dissuaded from coming uptown because of the rain. We had about 20,000 people at the peak with the fireworks celebration in Ramir Bearden Park. Everything went well. We had one arrest from last night, and that was inside BB&T Ballpark. That was for second-degree trespassing and resisting, obstructing, or delaying a public officer. That was the only negative that we could say happened. Once the celebration was over with, we were able to even get traffic out within 40 to 50 minutes and clear the uptown. So it was a great night, great celebration in uptown. Questions?
Just one arrest?
Just one arrest. One arrest, and that was not part of the festival. It was not part of the gathering in Ramir Bearden Park. It was an arrest that was made at the end of the baseball game inside BB&T.
You've been doing this for a minute. I just got to
Oh,
ask you,
yes.
how surprised are you?
I'm shocked, but I'm very pleased. I'm very pleased to be able to stand up here and say just one arrest. With that many people in the uptown area at one time, that is amazing. With some of our other large venues in uptown, it could be anything. You can see several arrests, but we only had one, and that is a success.
What was the estimate of how many people were down there?
20,000. The park, we believe, holds about 10,000. Once the game was over with, the crowd continues to swell. They poured over into the streets. We estimated it was about 20,000 people there at the peak to watch the fireworks.
Joe, any theories as to why it went so well? Was it your preparation? Did you sense that folks maybe were just a little bit less tense?
Mark, I would love to be able to stand up here and say that CMPD can take credit for the success. We're only one player in that. We take a major role, but we have to share the success with all our partners. And I'm starting to name a lot of them, but I'm going to miss some of my federal partners who supply a lot of information: sheriff's departments, fire department, emergency management, highway patrol, Department of Transportation, CATS, on and on and on. So there are a lot of meetings that come, and a lot of planning and a lot of mitigation that we do prior to major events in uptown. And we believe that we hit it home. We had a home run last night. So.
Who else? Wow. Such a quiet gaggle of reporters. We appreciate you,
All right,
Major.
guys.
Appreciate
Take
your
care,
time.
guys.
We'll let him get back to work. What else do we have that's looming? I understand it's a short week.
We had some other multi-agency cooperation yesterday that a lot of us got to spend time with. Can you give us an update on the happenings of yesterday's Mercedes in the woods? And
I can, and actually, I've got on my flank over here, somewhere lingering in the hallway, a lot of you know Captain Cecil Brisbane with Violent Crimes. They're asking about the yesterday's situation involving the attempted abduction of two women over in our Steel Creek area. I know a lot of you were out on the scene yesterday during Deputy Chief Johnny Jennings' press conference. For those of you who weren't, we had two reports of attempted abductions of two women in the Steel Creek area yesterday. Thankfully, neither one of those women were abducted and no one was injured. We recovered the suspect's vehicle, a stolen vehicle, a short time later over on Performance Road, back in a wooded area that was set ablaze. We believe at this point that blaze was set intentionally. That vehicle was stolen from our Freedom Division. I want to say it was somewhere around or on July 1st of this year. Somebody left it running when it was taken, so it wasn't taken by force. I'd love to sit here and tell you that we have an arrest in this case. That's not the case at all. We continue to just work tirelessly, devoted a tremendous amount of resources, and I guess a lot of you who were out there yesterday were witness to that. We had our dirt bikes, enduros, our aviation unit, our lake patrol officers, and plainclothes on patrol, you name it, we had it. It was because, we take these type of situations extremely seriously. When you have an armed individual who's attempting to lure women into a car, that's something that we're certainly going to pull the big red handle on, and something we did pull the big red handle on yesterday. We'd encourage the community, if they know anything, to go ahead and call. They may think it's the most insignificant piece of information. Do us a favor, let our people run down those leads and work to determine whether there's any kind of credibility or significance to that information that they have. They can call our Crime Stoppers number at 704-334-1600. All of those calls are kept anonymous. Again, we don't need to know who you are, what you do, where you live, any of that. We just need that information that'll allow our detectives to run down these leads. So again, I wish I had better news concerning that, were those situations from yesterday, but that's where we are right now.
Thankfully, women did not get into the vehicle. Do you guys have any tips or suggestions for people to stay together, be in groups for safety? What is the recommendation?
You know, I think I'm going to let the captain talk a little bit about that as far as personal safety goes. Obviously, there's some things that we do want to share that's relevant, and I think it would be better suited for the captain to go ahead and talk a little bit about that.
All right, so I'd love to give you a lot of tips. I'll give you a few though. The biggest thing about working out is this is a beautiful city. It's a great region. There are a lot of places where people can work out. So we always talk about this being a region where you can live, work, and play. But we'd like people to make sure they live, work, and play safely. So one of the suggestions that we have when working out, especially by yourself, is to let people know where you're going. Give them an expected time frame for you to be out and about so they'll know that you should be returning home within 30 to 45 minutes or whatever that is. Also, if you have an opportunity to work out with somebody else, that's always a plus. The two individuals that were threatened yesterday, they did things right. They knew something didn't seem right, and they didn't stay. They didn't wait around to engage in prolonged conversation with the suspect. And all of us have an internal meter, so to speak, that tells us when something's not quite right, and we have that fight or flight in us. And I think they chose flight, which was the perfect thing at that point in time. So, you know, there are a lot of different little things that we can tell you in terms of trying to be safe, but the main thing is just being aware of your surroundings. So I think that's the highlight: be aware of your surroundings, and kind of map out the area that you're going to. Know what the potential threats to your safety may be in that area, and let people know where you're going. And then I would always suggest that somebody carries some type of phone or other communication device with them. So if you need to call us, that you can. Flagging people down in the general public, that works too. But the main thing is just let people know where you're going.
Well, we're fortunate enough to have you up here. What are any updates on any of the open cases that you guys have been working on, the high profile? Either the cell phone homicide from the Let Go.
You know, you said one thing. You said the high profile, and in my opinion, every homicide we have is high profile. Every homicide we have is someone losing a loved one, and that's a situation that nobody ever wants to experience. Unfortunately, right now, I don't have any updates specific to any of the open cases. Rob already gave out some information for Crime Stoppers in the tip line. I would implore anybody who has information on any of these open cases to give us a call and let detectives know what they know, so we can vet that information and work towards giving family members what they need, which is not closure, but just the understanding that the person responsible for their loved one's case will be held responsible.
When you guys found the car yesterday, can you say if you were able to recover any evidence that would help you? I'm not asking you specifically to tell us what, if anything, you may have found. I'm just wondering if you found anything that might help you.
The easiest way to answer your question is we found the car, and with all cars that we find that we suspect are involved in criminal activity, we'll process those vehicles and determine if there's anything of evidentiary value that we can locate. So specifics I can't give you, but the crime scene unit came out and did process that vehicle.
The fact that this guy was clever enough, and I don't know if that's the word that should be used, to burn the vehicle, what, if anything, does that tell you about either his experience or his intelligence or anything like that?
I'm slightly troubled with the phrasing of that question, because I don't want to give credit to a criminal for being involved in some type of criminal activity or criminal behavior. I don't know how to properly answer that question in the right context. I do think it's something for us to be mindful of and to worry about. I mean, quite frankly, anytime somebody is trying to destroy evidence, that's a problem, and that makes our job that much more difficult. So what we're dealing with right now is somebody who obviously knew that there's a potential for them to be caught because of the vehicle and their linkage to the vehicle, and they were trying to get rid of that evidence. So it's up to us to do everything that we can to salvage whatever evidence we can from that vehicle.
Would you expect that this person has spent some time in the joint or something like that? I mean, I know there's no way of knowing.
I won't jump to conclusions. This is an open and active investigation, and I would hate to jump to a conclusion and be wrong. This is a case, like all cases, that we're taking extremely seriously, and we want to get to the bottom of who this person was and hold them responsible and accountable for their acts. We've talked about the vehicle at length, and I think that's a good find. The opportunity for us to comb through that. Hopefully, we'll get something that we can use, but quite frankly, it's all disturbing. Anytime you have someone who is accosted in that manner, that's not something that's normal. It's not something that people expect to happen to them when they go out for a day of exercise. And I think that's why the community is alarmed.
What time did you locate the vehicle?
I don't have the exact time frame for the recovery. I think the complaint numbers for the recovery started around, give me a second. I think the complaint numbers for the recovery were sometime around about 10:05. So there's roughly about an hour and a half between when the original incident was reported and then when we get the call for the recovery of the vehicle. And it may extend a little past that, but roughly you're looking at a couple hours.
Have there been any other incidents? Have there been any other confirmed or credible sightings of this guy? Do you have reason to believe that he's approached anybody else in a threatening manner?
I'd love to give you a long, detailed, in-depth answer, but the most concise answer I can give you is no on each question you just asked. No, we don't have anything pointing to some serial individual who's out trying to pick up women, and we don't have any information that leads us to believe that this is something that's been going on for an extended period of time.
The description that y'all gave us yesterday was pretty vague. Is there any additional information that y'all have today, any surveillance, any pictures anywhere?
Unfortunately, there isn't. So the description we gave you yesterday of Hispanic male or light-skinned black male would be consistent with what we have. And although I'd love to give you something that's more in-depth, I can't.
Captain, is it a general feeling, or is there any feeling at all that perhaps the suspect lives near the area where the car was found?
As I said earlier, I don't want to jump to conclusions, so I wouldn't feel comfortable saying that. I think if you're looking at an individual who was operating a motor vehicle, so you can get anywhere in a motor vehicle, and that widens the search element. So I wouldn't try and pigeonhole this into saying that he's from that exact location.
So we're going to let the captain get back to work. Anything that develops, we'll be sure to pass along in the way of a press release. Again, not too many new developments, unfortunately, from the last time we spoke yesterday. We want to continue to urge the community, encourage the community to go ahead and call that Crime Stoppers tip line 704-334-1600 with any additional information, and allow our detectives to go ahead and run that information down. You had something, Mark?
I'm sorry, to clarify, is homicide over this investigation?
I believe they're involved. I don't know if it's been assigned to them, but I know that they've at least been assisting. I'll find out who's formally has the case now.
It's downtown here as opposed to in the division?
I'll find out for you, Mark. Yeah, I know that they're at least assisting. I don't know if they have been assigned the case, though, officially, but I will get clarification for you.
Yesterday, we were telling people he's armed and dangerous, be vigilant all day. He
Yes.
has been caught. Are we telling people the same thing? Because he was not just contained at one point to one part of the city. He was on York, Dixie River, the Net Performance. Should everybody just kind of be on to, on like heightened awareness right now?
Yeah, I think that that's a really good approach, is to be mindful of your surroundings, be mindful of who it is that we're looking for. Obviously, we would never, ever encourage anyone, if they believe that they know who this person is or identify who this person is out in public, to approach this person, right? Be a good witness. Go ahead, call 911, give a very precise location of where you are, where he is, and let our folks go ahead and investigate that. But that's a tremendously good point. Yes.
Rob, do you have extra resources in the Still Creek Division right now? I know there was that double shooting overnight, and then there were the 2 abduction attempts. Have you guys dedicated additional resources?
Yes, we've got additional resources over in Steel Creek, and more than appropriate resources out in the Steel Creek area.
And I guess the other question would be, you know, with the amount of resources that you guys poured into that search yesterday, I guess at around a certain point in time, we kind of saw this start to peel back. Was that to dedicate to other things because it was a holiday? Or it was just at that point you guys figured you're not gonna find them?
No, we put a tremendous effort into working to locate that individual and continue to devote resources, time, and staffing to locate that individual. You may have seen some shifting of strategy and resources yesterday as things were scaled back a bit, but no, this is still a tremendous priority for the organization. And we hope for the community as well that we can get some help along the way with this endeavor. All right, guys, we appreciate you.